Well, not downplaying the effects of the disease, the U.S. government today says the H1N1 virus is inaccurately named swine flu. That moniker has been widely used by the mainstream media. As Ag Day has been reporting since Monday, there is no evidence that this strain moved from a pig to humans. The National Institutes of Health says the virus contains swine, avian, and human viral genes. As the pork industry comes under fire and prices plunge, there's an effort to rename the disease. The USDA now officially uses the phrase H1N1 virus. Ag Secretary Vilsack says the phrase swine flu has caused unnecessary alarm with consumers and trading partners. Earlier this week, the World Organization of Animal Health, also known as OIE, said it should be called North American influenza. And the American Farm Bureau Federation says hybrid influenza would be a more accurate name. Farm Bureau President Bob Stallman hopes the news media will no longer use the phrase swine flu. Well, news from the market side did not improve yesterday for the nation's hog producers. Lean hog futures continued their downward spiral, closing down $2.85. Now that's on top of the nearly $6 loss since Monday. Pork processor Smithfield took another hit as well. At the close Wednesday, its shares were down 28 cents to close at $9.16 a share. Meanwhile, Arkansas-based Tyson was up 14 cents to close at $10.24 a share. Now, despite assurances from health experts both here and abroad about the safety of pork, there's a growing list of countries that are banning pork imports from Mexico and the U.S. One country, Egypt, is taking the extreme action of slaughtering the nation's entire swine herd. That's about 300,000 head. USDA says it's reminding its trading partners that U.S. pork and pork products are safe, and there is no basis for restricting imports on commercially produced U.S. pork. U.S. Trade Representative says countries must follow their trade agreements and base food safety decisions on scientific evidence. No doubt the National Pork Board agrees. It's trying to reassure consumers at a time when pork prices have already been slumping.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as well as other worldwide health organizations, have not found any evidence to date that human illness has been caused by exposure to pigs. Not only is pork safe, it's a good source of lean protein and the important nutrients we need for good health. We know that pork is safe.
Purdue Ag economist Chris Hurt says it could take weeks, if not longer, before U.S. pork producers recover from export restrictions. Hurt expects millions of pounds of pork could wind up in the U.S. retail market at discounted prices. That means lower prices for an industry already reeling in a tough economic climate. In Washington, lawmakers on both sides of the Capitol called emergency hearings over the past 2 days to look into the U.S. response for the disease. We talked with Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa. Iowa leads the nation in pork production. In cash receipts alone, Iowa produces and sells 27% of the nation's pork. That's roughly $3 billion. Grassley expressed his concern about the impact on agriculture and says pork is not the problem.
Now that's a lesson to the American consumers, but it's also a lesson to a lot of countries that have said they're not going to import our pork because of this. I believe that our government is handling it right. It's pretty difficult when professionally they call it swine flu, even though it's not transferable. And we had a previous epidemic 30 years ago to maybe get people out of the habit of calling things what they really are.
I talked to a pork producer today who said it'd be like blaming the Germans for German measles. Be sure to join us tomorrow morning as we visit with an Indiana pork producer about the repercussions being felt throughout the pork industry. We'll show you biosecurity efforts underway in this country by U.S. hog producers and learn how this H1N1 outbreak is affecting the bottom line of an industry already reeling from the downturn in the economy. Inside American Pork Production tomorrow right here on Ag Day.